Welcome to the Our Veterans, Our Stories podcast with the Hancock County Veterans Service Office. This is where we give our local veterans an opportunity to share their stories with our community and beyond. There is a real brotherhood among all vets, and it will be great to help others to know their stories about serving our country. And it gives us an opportunity to introduce the community to our team at the Hancock County Veterans Service Office so people can learn a little bit more about what we do and how we can help. Okay, today we have retired Master Sergeant Leesha Dixson. Leesha's one of my buds, right? So every event it seems like we have, she's there. And I've always been curious about her story, and I'm hoping that today you can share your story with us, and I'm anxious to hear.
Okay,
So-
I have no problem with that.
All right. So tell me a little bit about yourself right now.
Right now,
Yeah.
I am retired from every job that I've had. I mean, I've only had 2 jobs that I could retire from, and I'm retired from both of them. So basically, my day is whatever I want to do. If I don't want to do anything, I don't do anything. I do some volunteer work at the Humane Society, though. And I go and pet the dogs and cats, and that's my main job there. So I love it. And I don't do anything. I'm an old woman now, so
You just do what you want.
yes.
That's great. That's good to hear that you've earned that and you're there.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, now that you're retired, let's talk about how you got to that point. Tell me your story about how you entered the service. What made you decide to join the service? What made you decide to join the branch that you went into? Your MOS? Tell me some of those things.
Okay, this is the crazy part.
All right.
I was a senior in high school. My best friend was going to go and find an after-school job. And it was after school, so I said, well, I'll go with her just to hang out. So we went to this place. It was a chicken restaurant. And turns out they didn't need somebody after school. They needed somebody during the day. And so we said, oh, well, that's not going to work. And I looked across the street, and there was an Army recruiting station there. And I told my friend, I said, let's go over there and see what's up, maybe pick up a little pamphlets or something like that. And having been a recruiter myself, I know that once you walk into that office, you might as well just put your hand up and swear, because
They say the right things, don't
yes, yes, and they made it sound so fun, and but I was still a senior in high school, so I went into the delayed entry program,
they? Yeah.
and after I graduated from high school, a month later, I was in the Army. So.
It's just like that.
Yeah, yeah. They have what they say in the Army, that they put you in a chair and spin you around.
Yep. And you had no hair. Yep. Yeah.
So so when I went in, that was in 1974, and that was when the end of towards the end of the Vietnam War, but it was towards the end of the Women's Army Corps.
Oh.
So I was actually a WAC when I first joined.
I see.
Yeah. So yes. So that's something I'm really proud of.
Yeah. Well, tell me a little bit more about that, what that is, and let our viewers know what that is, and explain your experience with that.
Well, the Women's Army Corps was technically a separate branch almost of the military. So, of course, it was all females. We had our own basic training. We had everything was separate. I mean, the barracks and everything was separate. And it was funny because about a year later, or less than a year later, they decided to integrate women into the regular Army. So they decided as part of that, they were going to move all the women from the female barracks over into the male side, and they didn't have any place for us. So they had to move the guys back a couple of barracks. And back those days, it was probably still the same way now, they had just regular glass windows, and they had curtains up to the windows. Well, all the guys had to give up their curtains so we could have privacy, but they would stand in front of the windows and do the craziest stuff. So it was a laugh a minute. But that was in Fort McClellan, Alabama, so that was fun. Yep.
Gotcha. So the Women's Corps, did you have an MOS there, or did you choose an MOS after that?
Actually, during the Women's Army Corps, that was my basic training in AIT. Well, AIT, they wanted me to be a groundbreaker and become a wireman.
Oh, like a lineman for like electrical?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay, yeah.
Yes, it was me and my friend Irene Hepp, who I met in the military, and we're still friends now. And so we were standing out looking at this, I think it was a 30-foot pole, and we had all our gear, had our gaps and everything in our shoes and everything, in our boots. And Irene kept, saying, I can't do it, I can't do it. So I said, I'll do it first. So I climbed up to the top of the pole. You're supposed to climb to the top, touch the top, and then come back down. Well, I climbed to the top, touched the top, and then I was coming back down. My gap hit a knot in the wood, and I panicked, and I let go. And thankfully, I didn't hug the pole, because that's what they tell you not to do, because you get splinters. But I was close enough to the pole where I just slid down the pole and hit the ground. So that was one of my injuries later on.
Wow.
I hurt my back, so.
I can see how that happened.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yes, so you were a part of the pioneering days when the women and men were integrated. And
Yes.
that exciting time.
It was, because it was difficult for the men to comprehend that, now instead of the females being over there somewhere, we're going to the same PXs, going to the same gyms, going to the same everything as they were. And I don't know any women who said that I can't do it and left, but I was excited about it. My brother's a Vietnam veteran, and I came in during Vietnam, so I was very proud of his service, so I wanted to be just like him.
That's great.
Yeah.
And you were.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So where were some places you were stationed? You were active duty?
I was active duty.
Active duty there?
Yeah.
Yep. Where were you stationed?
Okay, we're talking about almost 16 years of service.
Okay, yep. So
Yeah.
So you just let me know some of throughout your career, kind of how it progressed and where you were stationed, and maybe then we'll just go with that.
Well, let me see. After Fort McClellan, and then I went to Fort Dix for my advanced training, and then I went to Germany. And that was exciting. And my initial enlistment was only was less than 3 years. I think it was 2-year enlistment. And so being in Germany, I was the first person in my immediate family who's ever left the country. So I enjoyed the heck out of Germany. I did everything. I did the shopping, I did the tourist thing, and it was exciting, it really was. And so after I came back from Germany, I'm trying to think where I went to after that. I went to Fort Hood, Texas. And I was in, they call it COSCOM. So I was in communication, because after the lineman thing didn't go through, then I became they called it a voice radio operator. So I operated radios. And so I went to COSCOM over in Texas, which was great because I can go over the border and go to Mexico and go shopping. Because shopping was my fun thing to do. So after Texas, I didn't go immediately to Korea. I went to, let me see, okay, I went to Fort Dix, I went to Texas, and then I went someplace else in Texas, El Paso, and then
Fort Bliss, maybe?
Yeah, I went to Fort Bliss. I've been to Fort Bliss twice.
Yeah.
Actually, I've been to Germany 3 times.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I've been to Korea once. But I was basically hopping from one place to another, and if it was a plane going someplace, I was on it.
Anything smoking, you were trying to get on.
Yeah, because
Right.
I found that I love traveling, and so it was great for me to go from living in Chicago, being one of 9 children, and I had barely left Chicago except to go. We have a farm in Mississippi too. And I would go there every summer, but other than that, I became a world traveler, and that was exciting. Yeah.
That's great. So, were you active your whole time?
I was active for 15 years and 4 months.
Active for 15 years and 4 months.
Yes.
A lot of traveling there. Did you go on to join the reserves, or?
I joined the IMA, Individual Mobilization Augmentee.
Absolutely.
So basically, IMA is a person who is assigned to an active duty unit, and we do backfill. So if they get deployed, then we stay back in the rear and do their job.
Yep.
But in my case, they decided to send me to Iraq and kept the supply person there doing his job. So that's how I ended up going to Iraq. But I was, once again, attached to a whole other unit. I didn't know any of these people. And I don't think I met probably 10 of those people in the year that I was there.
So what was your job with that active duty unit? You mentioned supply?
Yes. You mean when I was deployed?
Yes.
When I was deployed, they needed somebody because at the time, the things that were coming into Iraq were just pretty much dropped off. You know, we had the BIOP, the airport, and you didn't know from one day to the next whether or not somebody from, another country, for example, like China sent us cars, and so they just dropped them off. And so I would have to go and do the inventory and decide where the vehicles or whatever was going to go to. So that was my job. And I worked alone. They gave me a vehicle. I had a Ford Explorer. And they said, you know, when you get up in the morning, just find out where our materials are and inventory it and come back at the end of the day. I was even on a whole separate part of the base. And it was one part to go from the BIOP from the unit to the BIOP, you were on actual roads. And I was, it was just me and the M16. So. If
I remember correctly, that was a pretty dangerous road too.
It was, and it was scary.
It was a very dangerous road, yes.
And I hadn't met the first sergeant, I hadn't met the commander, because once I got there, I went to the S4, I was S4 NCOIC. It was me and 2 Air Force people worked together, an Air Force Lieutenant Colonel and an E3. So we worked in this building. The good thing was I had my own separate room because I was with the Air Force. And so just the 3 of us worked together. And it was exciting because our actual job was we had all these people at different locations who would get the equipment and send it to where it was supposed to go. And plus they worked with, we were the contractors. We were contracting. So if an Iraqi company wanted to work with the federal government, we had to vet them. So we had people in different locations, and we would go and check with them, see if everything was okay there. So that was exciting too. At least I didn't have to travel by myself.
That's cool. I've been to a couple of those yards, and I remember the term frustrated cargo. And everybody was like, I don't know where this is going to go. I don't even know what this is.
Well,
frustrated cargo.
Let me expound on that.
Yeah.
So I was a master sergeant there too. And it was another master sergeant. And they said, we got all this equipment, and it was a change of command going on. The new commander wanted to inventory the stuff from the old commander. The old commander didn't know where his stuff was.
Gotcha.
So they sent us to Kuwait for 2 weeks, going on different airfields, with a piece of paper in hand, looking up the Dodaks and trying to figure out where this property belonged to. And so that was an exciting trip too. So yeah, there's a lot of lost equipment over there. Yeah, it's probably still sitting there on the air strips.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I noticed you brought a picture in. You want to share that picture? That's a good picture.
I call this my baby picture.
Your baby picture?
Yes. You want to hold her or you want me to hold it?
You hold her right up there.
Okay, this is my baby picture. I call it that because I was maybe 20 years old, and I joined the Army at 18. So I was fresh-faced. Like I said, I never left home. I never went any place without a brother or sister with me. And so here I was in the Army, a Spec 4, and I was a big girl.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I was still a baby. Yeah, so with my Army issue glasses.
I know. I've got some of them at home from basic too. Yeah. Yeah.
And I had one ribbon.
The
And
Army
that
Service
was
ribbon. Yeah.
National Defense Service ribbon.
Yep.
Or what they call the everybody pin.
The everybody pin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that was when I was in Germany too. Yeah. That was the old uniform. The shirt was a brown shirt.
Yep.
Yeah, instead of white. So yeah, that's my baby picture. Yeah.
So after all this service, what did you end up doing? You retire out of the military.
Now remember, I stayed in the military from the age of 18 until the age of 60.
Oh, so yeah.
So I did a lot of moving around, a lot of traveling, a lot of meeting people.
So if I remember correctly, at age 60, they tell you to go away. Don't go away mad, just go away.
And
Right?
I was happy to go away.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was happy because, retiring from the military does not mean that you're retiring from the people that you used to work with. The good thing about retiring is that you get a nice little card and you can go to the PX, you can go on post, because a lot of times military people miss that life. And that's why I re-enlisted, because I actually, after 2 years, I got out. And I got home and I found out that everything was not what it was in the military. I missed all my friends. So about 1.5 years after I got out, I went back on active duty. So even now, every now and then, me and one of my friends will go down to Wright-Patterson just to be around other military people and hit the PX and Class 6 store.
That's great. Yeah, I got you. Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. So, as I mentioned earlier, we see it at a lot of our events here, about every one of them, and it's always a joy to see you there. You were also a Veteran of the Year for Hancock County.
Yes.
A couple years back, if I remember.
It's been a few years.
Back,
it was a surprise. I didn't even know they had a Veteran of the Year. I mean, when I got back from Iraq, all I wanted to do was get back to work and try to catch up on all the stuff that I missed, because I had an actual job working in Marathon, and somebody was taking my place, but I had to relearn everything that I learned before, and try to get back into being a civilian again after being in a war zone. So.
How was that transition? What were some of the things that you maybe faced or had difficulty with?
Well, one of the things about being in a war zone is that, especially when you're deployed and they don't see what you do every day, the people, when you come back, want you to go back into the mindset that you had before you were deployed. And it's kind of difficult sometimes to sit someplace and you do your work, and then all of a sudden you have a crying jack or you have a memory, and then you need some time to yourself. So I would take the time to myself. I had age on my side too, because I know a person who joins the military at 18, and then they do 3 years and come back, and then they have so much more on their shoulders trying to get back into the swing of being a civilian. I had maturity on my side. I had all those years in the service. So I knew how to say to my supervisor, you know what, I need some time to myself for a minute. And knew that I was gonna be worried about losing my job behind that. So yeah.
That's great that you were able to have that experience and that age factor. That's important, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, I noticed you you've used our office for things. How has our office kind of helped you in those areas with transitions and things like that? Have you found value in our office?
It's funny that you say that, because when I first came here, now when you were over in Iraq and you come back and you transition on post, they tell you that you'll be able to go to the shopping malls. You'll be able to go someplace and find some help in transitioning back. And I found out that wasn't the case here. So we had another person who was working here, and so I'm looking for the place where I can go to where they said that it's going to be somebody to talk to. They didn't have that there. And like this one person was like, well, you know what, if you want to talk to other veterans, I'll leave you a coffee pot, I'll leave the office open for you to work with, but you basically have to find the people and have discussions with them. When y'all just, when things were transitioned over to the office as it is now, I found it much more helpful because it was people there who understood what I was going through. It was people there who I could communicate with and maybe meet other people who had been overseas or, in a war zone and talk with them about how life was. It's a lot of resources that I didn't know that was available. I mean, I basically thought, okay, I'll get the GI Bill and I'll go to school and that's all I can get. Well, that's not the case, I mean, I didn't know where, living in Findlay, we don't have a VA hospital here. I didn't know where I can go for VA services. So I found that out coming over to the Veteran Service Office.
I remember one time you came in, I think you had, was it 3 grandchildren with you?
I had 3 great nieces.
Great nieces, okay,
yes.
that's okay, but they were playing around and they were fun. They were fun to have in the office too. Yeah.
Yeah, you gave them some souvenirs. You had just started working there, I believe.
Yeah, it was shortly after I started working there. Yeah. That was fun.
Yeah, it was. They live in Indiana now.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah, so.
Yeah.
But I really appreciate what we get from the Veteran Service Office because, number one, I never hear that any other place that they have that type of setup where you can go in, be relaxed, and talk to somebody who has similar experiences that you have. And the resources, there was a lot of things, like I said, I didn't know that was available to me. And I mean, things, just simple things, even just trying to get someplace. The transportation that y'all have is available. That's great. The get-togethers, as I call them, that y'all have, those are nice because there's a lot of guys who would not come out to a group setting like that, but y'all make it so user-friendly because you have a lot of people set up, got a lot of little goodies to take home with you, and the food and the Dunkin' Donuts is nice too.
You like the Dunkin' Donuts?
And the coffee.
And the coffee.
Yes, yeah. But other than that, I really appreciate the Veteran Service Office, and I hope that other people will, if they haven't located the Veteran Service Office, that they go and find out where it is and actually sit down and talk to somebody.
I hope they do too.
And I hope it's not just veterans of the former wars. The Vietnam veterans still need help. And a lot of them did not get the same services that we get now. So now that it's open to everybody, then they should be able to appreciate that too. My brother, when he left Vietnam and came back home, there was nothing for him. And the things I learned from the VSO here, I shared it with him. He was shell-shocked. He had all kind of problems being from Vietnam. When my brother went to Vietnam, he was 18. When I went to Iraq, I think I was in my 40s or 50s, or so it was a maturity level that he didn't have, and it was almost like a dishonor for him to use the veteran services because they feel like you go, you do your job, you go home, and you just transition back to the person that you was. Well, he finally went to the VA. And finally found out all the services that are available, and I'm so happy because, like I said, he had it hard. He really hard. He did some scary things when he came back from Vietnam. So yeah.
I'm glad he found it. Glad he found it. Glad for him. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's a much happier person too. And he would call me up and say, "Sis, guess what I did today? What did you do today?" And it's kind of funny, me being a master sergeant, and he was like a PFC when he got out, and I'm like, okay, I want you to go over and do this. Not, hey, brother, you want to go over there and do this? No, I want you to go over there and do it.
Yep.
So, yeah, I love that about it, yeah.
That's great. And I know you're also a graduate of Guitars for Vets. That's another program. Yeah, In fact, our banner, when you see our banner,
yes,
you're on there.
Yes, I am. And ask me when was the last time I picked up a guitar.
Well,
I could just never get my fingers to I couldn't remember the chords too.
Yeah.
So I had a problem with that. But this morning when I was getting up, I was thinking, it's time for me to pick up that guitar again and maybe get a smaller guitar.
There you go.
Yeah.
Maybe we could assist you with that.
Yeah.
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 So what advice do you have to anyone maybe considering the military nowadays?
Well, as a senior non-commissioned officer, one of the things that we used to tell people who lived on post was, don't become a barracks rat. So I would tell a person who is going into the military, don't just stay on post. It's so many things out there that's available to you. I went, one year I was at Fort Bliss for some training. And before I went to Fort Bliss, there was a show on TV. It was like a mystery show, but they showed this place called Rocket Buster Boots. And I said, wow, if I ever get to Fort Bliss, I'm gonna go there. And I actually went there, and they made me a pair of custom boots. And it's on the front of my boots is a buffalo for Buffalo soldiers.
Yep.
And I was so happy about stuff like,
That's
stuff like
great.
that is so nice. So get out, explore the area, mingle with other people and learn from them. And of course, if you get a chance, go across the border, go down to Mexico. Well, it used to be safe to go to Mexico, now it's kind of hard.
Juarez, I think when we were down there, we walked across.
Yeah.
Walked right across, right in, right out. Yep.
Yeah, well, I would drive and park my car.
Yep.
And then you pay, I think, 35 cents to go across the border.
Oh, really?
Because I've been there, I was over there about 3 years ago, before we really got dangerous.
Yeah, yep.
But
Yeah.
take advantage of that. Take advantage of the schooling. That was the reason why I got off active duty in the first place, because when I had almost 16 years of service and I was saying, I only got 4 more years to retire, what am I gonna do? I had a high school education, that's it. So I took that break, and like I said, went into the IMA, went to University of Illinois, used the GI Bill and the Illinois Veterans Grant, because some states have grants for veterans. So I used the Illinois Veterans Grant, got my undergraduate degree, and then I still had some GI Bill left, and I got my master's from there too. And that's how I ended up coming to Findlay, because Marathon came to the University of Illinois and recruited me from there.
Nice.
So that's how I ended up in Findlay, Ohio.
Well, glad they found you and brought you here.
I am too. I am too.
Yeah.
It's a really nice place. Yeah. So
I've been eyeballing your cup there. Tell me about that.
this cup,
Yeah.
my sister Sarah, she's my closest sister to me in age, and she was really a supporter of me when I was in Iraq and in the military in the first place. I actually think that she probably would have gone to the military if she had thought about it, if she hadn't gotten married instead. And a couple of years ago, she said, I got a present for you. And I said, what does she have for me? And when she came out with this cup, I don't know if you could see all of it. When she came out with this cup for me, it brought tears to my eyes, because I love being in the military, and I didn't think my sister would think along the lines of doing something like this for me. And I told her it's the most favorite present I've ever gotten from anybody, and especially from her. So yeah, I love it.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, and it's one of a kind.
It's
So
one of a
no,
kind.
you can't order one, because the lady who made it, well, she's probably still around. I would say that she was dead, just so other people couldn't get
Just
one.
so they couldn't get one like you.
Yes,
Yeah.
but yeah, I was really amazed. But I really love that cup. I take it everywhere.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, Master Sergeant, it's been an honor interviewing you, and I'm glad to finally know your story. And again, it's just been an honor, and I thank you for your service.
Thank you
Everything
for
you
your
do, and
service.
everything you continue to do for the community and other veterans.
Yes.
So
I enjoy it. Veterans are just like my brothers and sisters now. So I really enjoy being around them. That's why you see me over at Owens Community College when y'all have the get-togethers. I'm there.
you are.
Yeah. So
And we thank you for that.
I thank you, and I appreciate that.
And we'll see you at the next one.
Yes, yes. As long as you have pizza and Dunkin' Donuts, I would be there.
Okay. I'll put a note down about that. For more stories like this, please stay tuned to our podcast, Our Veterans, Our Stories. See you at the next one.